Good evening, I'm Tim Lankford with the League of Women Voters. We welcome you to this evening with conversations with the candidates right here on Houston Media Source Television. On this broadcast, we have 9 of the mayoral candidates, and we're going to ask them some questions and learn a little bit more about them and their position on issues affecting the city of Houston. So we're going to welcome to the conversation with the candidates. That's not a part of the script. So let's go ahead and get to the questioning. Told you I'd flub a little bit. All right, so we're going to start with Mr. Kendall. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are running for mayor.
Sure. My name is Kendall Baker, candidate for Houston mayor. Houston native, born and raised on the northeast side of Houston. Having worked for the city for 29 years, my last position was the manager of the 311 helpline, and having been retired for 4 years, I sit back and watched and could no longer sit on the sidelines and watch the city decay, watch the infrastructure continue to go bad, watch the city citizens continue to be deceived by this current administration, and I couldn't sit on the sidelines and continue to watch city employees drive around and use broken equipment. And then the final blow was to see how nearly 250,000 voters' rights were taken back when they voted for Prop B, only to have it reversed and be ruled illegal. So I decided I must get in there and do something about it. Having the experience of working with the city for so many years, I felt that I have the expertise to get in there and do a better job and be more transparent, be more truthful with the people, and give the citizens of Houston what they rightfully deserve, a great mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. So our next candidate up this evening will be current City Council member Dwight Boykins. Tell us why you would like to be, or why you should be the mayor of Houston.
Well, thank you very much. And let me thank the League of Women Voters for having us today. I'm a native Houstonian, and this city has given me so much. Growing up in the southeast part of Houston, graduating from Stephen F. Austin High School, as well as Texas Southern University. Have an opportunity to represent a district that I was born and raised in, you can't ask for more. But having an opportunity to serve on the city council, represent that same district, is just an honor. Spending 6 years on the last 6 years on city council, I've learned a lot. I think it's important that we have leadership that will focus on the necessary needs of the city, make certain that we're not dividing our first responders, and implementing the will of the voters, such as the Proposition B that was passed on November 6th. I've had an opportunity to work with different mayors, and I think the leadership we have right now, it's not taking our city in the right direction. What I will do as mayor, we'll talk more about it in the upcoming questions, but one thing we will focus on are implementing the homeless and panhandling issues. That's very important to me. It's tearing up our city right now, as well as addressing public safety. So I look forward to the dialogue. This is a great opportunity for you to hear from the candidates, and I think experience matter. When I ran in 2013, I made it very clear what I was going to do for my district. Bring in grocery stores, address infrastructure needs, and we've done that in taking care of our seniors. So look forward to have the dialogue.
All right, thank you. Our next one up is Derrick Broze. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yep.
Wonderful. All right, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you believe you should be the next mayor of Houston.
So my name is Derrick Broze. I'm 34 years old. I am also a lifelong Houstonian. I've been here for my entire life, working in the community as young as I could, started getting involved in my community here around Houston, and for the last 10, 12 years I've been involved in activism and journalism, and spent the last 9 years specifically confronting city council officials, confronting the current mayor and the former mayor, as well as the current police chief and the former police chief, about issues that they don't want the public to know about. And many of these issues are now platforms, are part of the campaign that I'm running. So like some of the other folks in this campaign, I'm seeking to expose corruption. I think it's become more and more clear to people in the city that our city is being run in ways that at the very least, we can say don't reflect what the voters actually want. And Proposition B is the most recent example of that, where even if the people do have a voice and have a say when they decide they want something, as in giving the firefighters a raise, that is then denied them. So we're living in a city where even when the people choose to speak up and choose to get involved, their voices are being ignored. And I've seen that time and time again, going to city council, seeing how much power the mayor has, seeing how issue after issue is ignored. So I'm running on a campaign to really expose this in all different departments. We want to do an audit of the police department and look at the surveillance tools that they have. We want to put a complete end to no-knock raids and do an audit of any violent police officers that are still on duty and look into their records and see what we can do about that. And we also want to decriminalize cannabis and end the drug war in Houston so that we can start getting to the end of this mass incarceration system that is reflected here in Harris County and Houston as much as it is on the national level. So we're talking about some really big issues that none of the other campaigns are focused on, and we're doing so specifically because I think Houston, the fourth largest city in the country, should take a position on bigger issues than certain things that might be more mundane.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Broze. Next, we're going to go to Tony Busby. You're an attorney here in Houston. Tell us some more about yourself and why voters should select you in November.
I want to say to my fellow Houstonians, we stand at a crossroads. Are we going to be the city that we know we can be, a city that we aspire to be, a city of innovation and technology where everyone has a seat at the table, a city where the government works? Or are we going to be the city that we're rapidly becoming under the current administration and this current mayor? Crime is out of control. Petty crime is out of control. There's 23,000 gang members across the city of Houston. There's an ongoing gang war in the city of Houston. We can't pay the firefighters fairly. We're wasting money like crazy. We wasted $73 million at the airport on a building plan that was flawed. Money on holiday lights that we could have gotten donated. $3 million on bans in the airport, and it goes on and on. We have to do something. I am the son of a meat cutter. I'm a guy that grew up in a town of 1,300 people. My dad cut meat for 43 years. My mother drove our school bus and also worked in the high school cafeteria. But for an ROTC scholarship, I would not have been able to go to Texas A&M. I went to Texas A&M and spent 4 years of active service in the United States Marine Corps, left the Marine Corps as a captain, and then served 4 more years on inactive status. I have grown a business here in Houston that has represented some of the largest cases in the city of Houston and across Texas and the United States. And I've grown business after business after business. The city of Houston is broken, and we can't do politics as usual or the same old, same old. We cannot have career politicians anymore at a time this critical running this city, and that's why I'm running for mayor. I love this city. The city has been good to me, and I'm going to roll up my sleeves and make this city a better place for all of us.
All right, thank you very much. Naoufal Houjami, tell us about yourself and why you decided to get into the mayor's race and why voters should select you.
Okay, thank you for having us today with you. My main goal is, I believe, building strong families lead to strong communities, lead to strong city, lead to strong state, and that lead to a strong nation. Since Harvey, my family and I, we got hit very badly with Harvey. We left behind. Like the majority of Houstonians, the money was there until today. Nobody got help. No one. Second, there is too much fight at the city of Houston. People are fighting each other between them. City councilman, mayor is fighting. People are tired. Houstonians are very tired of the fight. So the most important, I am a husband, a father of 4 kids born and raised in Houston, Texas. I want to run the city of Houston as a big Houstonian family. Doesn't matter which political affiliation, which color, which religion, which economic status, just Houstonians. Because what we're having right now is too much double standards at City Hall. They told you something, they do something else. We have discrimination. We have too much polarizing issues like Proposition B. We are using it to distract people, to distract Houstonians for the major problem. The police, the firefighters, they are a U.S. national security matter. My plan, I will make them very happy. I've been working the last 5 years on my 11 key plan of action of solution. We all know the problems. We can talk the whole night about the problems. But what I am here for is I want to present my 11 plan of action, part of it, of solution to fix the problem. Affordable housing. But my main problem is, doesn't matter who's going to win today, the problem is we need a city general manager. because the mayor as a position is the problem, has too much power. Dallas has a manager. Austin has a manager, San Antonio has a manager, whatever gonna win, whatever the promises, which platform they're gonna have. We need a city manager to be hired, appointed. If he doesn't do his job, he gets fired. So we don't have the problem with Proposition B, because that's called abuse of power. That's the term. They don't want to use it, but it is abuse of power. We need to get off that first. We need creating a city general manager. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right, Bill King, you've been an attorney here in Houston for a while and also the former mayor of Seabrook. Tell us about yourself.
Kima. Let's not
Kima.
make sure
I'm
right.
sorry.
Yeah, no. Kima's a lot better than Seabrook. I mean, come on.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be mayor.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate you taking your time and listening to us for a while. Many of y'all remember that I ran 4 years ago for mayor and lost in a very narrow election to Sylvester Turner in what was actually the closest mayor's race in the city's history. I ran 4 years ago because it seemed to me the city just wasn't working very well. Our streets were a mess. We were having our houses flooded. We didn't have enough police officers. Crime was rising, and our finances were a mess. I look now 4 years after, I don't see that anything's improved. In fact, I see many things that are much worse. Our streets are still a disaster. Our flood czar says after flooding 100,000 homes in Hurricane Harvey that we're no better today than we were back in 2017. How can that possibly be the case? You know, since 2011, we've been collecting a drainage fee to fix these problems, and yet we find out that half that money's been spent on something else. That's something that needs to be corrected. Homelessness is spinning out of control in Houston. We can't even pick up the garbage on time, and when we pick up recycling, we take it to the landfill and not to the recycling center. These are all problems that we should not have in a city that's as prosperous as Houston, Texas is. And this all gets back to a management issue, but it also all relates to the finances. And look, I know the finances, some people want to make their eyes roll back in their head, but it's really important because you know from your family, if the finances are not in order, nothing's in order. Last year, our outside auditors said we ran an operating deficit in the general fund of $435 million, notwithstanding the fact that we had more revenue last year than the city's ever collected before. We need a business manager to take over and start running City Hall, bring zero basic budgeting, getting spending under control. Houston does not have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem.
All right. Sue Lovell, you've
Yes.
been a former city council member.
Yes.
Tell us why you are running for president in this cycle.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry, for mayor in this cycle. I wish for mayor in this
That's
cycle.
later.
Yeah,
Another year ahead.
darn that term limits. First, I want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters. I was one of your honorees on one of your repast luncheons along with Ann Clutterbuck, and I want to thank you for that honor. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I moved here in 1970. I had 3 suitcases, $35. I went to work at a company where I had to learn a skill, which was to run a printing press. I was one of only 2 women in the whole city that ran presses. I was able to acquire a small business, a printing business, where I learned how tough it is to be a small business owner in this city. And I left there then and went to work for Federal Express for 10 years, and I was a courier, and I understood what it was like when the city decided to tear up streets while you're trying to deliver packages, and how important it is to be able to coordinate and manage the traffic problems. I left there and went to work for John Sharp, who was the state comptroller, doing economic business development, finding small cities federal dollars. And then I left there and went to work for the Mills Corporation, designing a workforce program where we put 500 women to work on opening day and had transportation and we had daycare for them. I was very fortunate to be able to adopt children, and I became very involved then in my neighborhood and what my neighborhood looked like. And that is what made me want to run for city council, was the frustration of what wasn't being done. Why am I running now? Like everybody else, I feel the lack of leadership at the city is taking the city in the wrong direction, away from being the city of opportunity. And we need to do something about public safety. We need to do something about our infrastructure. And we need to make sure that our city services are delivered on time, that our garbage gets picked up. If we don't do this, we'll continue to not be a city of any opportunity anymore, and people want to move here and raise their families.
All right, thank you. Demetria Smith, you're up next. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running.
Hi, I'm Demetria Smith. I'm a mortgage loan officer and a court mediator, and I'm involved in arts and entertainment in terms of just writing stage plays, books, sing, rap, things like that. So I love to have fun, I love to be myself. But why am I running for mayor for the second time? This is my second run for mayor. And the reason why I'm running for mayor this time and why I keep running is because civil rights have not been protected here in Houston. People's rights have been overlooked. People's rights have been deprived. You know, we have a lot of candidates, they talk about city services, they talk about things on the outside of the city. I'm more concerned about what's going on in individual lives, what's going on in a family's life, what's going on with your economics, finance, with your housing. So my fight is to take back your democracy and give you back your democracy, something that belongs to you, that you have a right to. So the highlight issue for me is the fight against oppression, injustice, and poverty. So let's highlight housing. There's a housing crisis. So it's hard for people to qualify for homes. Minorities can't qualify for homes. They can't even get in the loop to even invest. We have eviction crisis as well. When we have these eviction crises, then it's hard for you to get a place to stay, so we create homelessness also. We also have due process with our in the due process crisis with our criminal justice system. I hear candidates that says that crime is on the rise. Well, we have more nonviolent offenders in jail today, incarcerated, our tax dollars are paying, than actually violent offenders. So where is the crime that's on the rise? So I'm concerned about more police officers being on the street because it sounds like slave chasers are coming into the streets. So I'm going to not only protect the criminals from actually, well, let me just say this here. I want to protect the citizens from crime, but also I want to protect citizens from official oppression when it comes to our police officers. I'm Demetria Smith for Houston Mayor.
Thank you very much. And Roy Vasquez, tell us about yourself and why you decided to jump into the mayor's race.
My name is Roy Vasquez. I'm 33 years old. I was born at St. Joseph's Medical Center, downtown Houston. I got my undergrad and grad degrees at the University of Houston. And I've been in the realm of education kind of my whole adult working career. But the reason I ran is, like everybody else, like I love this city and you see it in decay. And President Obama had a quote, I'm going to shorten it a little bit, but he said, you know, if you're not satisfied with your elected officials, run yourself, run for office yourself. So that's what I'm doing, that's what I'm trying to do. You can't wait for, you know, the cavalry to arrive and save the day. You can't hope that, you know, one of these, hope that one of the candidates is going to be the savior, the solution, like you be the solution, right? So I think I had an obligation, and we all have an obligation to, if you don't like something, you know, try to fix it yourself. And that's why I'm running.
Okay. So we'll move on to now the question to the heart of the why we have you here tonight. Houston has 2.3 million people living within the confines of the city borders. Fourth largest city in the U.S., and we're also one of the most diverse. We've got about a third Anglo population, third Hispanic population, about 15 to 16% African American population, and we have over 140 languages being spoken. We attract about 18 million visitors annually who bring in $18 billion to our economy. How will you as mayor ensure that Houston continues to be a welcoming and diverse and inclusive city? And we'll start back with you, Mr. Vasquez.
I think one opportunity that maybe we're missing out on is, showing how much cultural diversity and multiculturalism we have outside the loop. So you can go to the southwest side and you can watch the dragon dance for the Lunar New Year, or 2 streets down you can go to a church with the Afghan refugees, and then go to the north side and go to the sunny side flea market. So I think educating and promoting kind of that culturalism outside of the loop is just maybe one opportunity. But I think another opportunity is we're talking about inclusiveness of all of our people, so our residents too, right? So I think our low-income residents, there's a huge opportunity for inclusiveness there. Right now, our low-income residents, because of their income, they're either stuck in poverty housing, or they're forced to work live far away from where they work so they can afford housing. So I think someone mentioned it earlier, but I think affordable housing is a huge opportunity. Maybe partnering with developers, incentives for developers so they can build affordable housing for those people.
All right, thank you very much. And Demetria Smith will ask you the same question. What can you do to ensure that Houston continues to be a welcoming and inclusive city?
Just make sure we have dignity and respect for all citizens, no matter what culture, what background, what walk of life you come from. We have to honor the 14th Amendment, making sure that everyone have equal opportunities. We want to make sure everyone have the same opportunities for employment, same opportunities for housing, same opportunity for their voice to be heard down at City Hall or at the state level. So we do not have enough of our democracy right here in the city. With that being said, when you have a mayor that's in office that takes that oath, that mayor have to honor that oath at the same time. So we do not have a division when it comes to the oath of office. When you take your oath, all people are included. It doesn't matter what your culture are. I also believe in having that multicultural dialogue, have some of those meetings. We do not have enough of those meetings. We like more transactional than anything. We'll pass by I'll walk by a Caucasian person and just pass by, but I want to get to know who you are. What's your background? Anybody. So we're more transactional. We're not inclusive. We just do not have much dialogue. So me as mayor, I would like to make sure that everyone, again, is treated with dignity, respect. I will uphold my oath of office and making sure that we honor the 14th Amendment and make sure every voice is heard.
All right, thank you very much. Sue Lovell, tell me what your response to that question is. How would you ensure that Houston continues to be welcoming and inclusive?
Well, I was one of those people that moved here when I was 19 looking for opportunity. It was from California, and I was somewhat of a refugee. And when I came to this city, it was because it was a city of opportunity. So why do people come here? I came here first, opportunity to find a job for someone that was 19 and wanted to move forward with some sort of career or skill. Also, housing, people come here because we had affordable housing, there were places to live that were inexpensive. Also, people came here, truthfully, because of we had good schools, and you could move into neighborhoods where your children could be educated, such as mine. The reason I'm running for mayor is I think that those things that bring people here, plus we were a city that was business friendly. Businesses wanted to move here. When businesses move here, the opportunity grows because jobs grow. What thing I think we have done and we've lost our eye on is the housing issue, and I think it's at a critical juncture in this city. Are we going to be able to have people to stay in neighborhoods and live somewhere that's affordable, or are they going to move to the suburbs, which creates more problems of then they want to come and they get on the streets in their cars and they come in. I think we have to tackle that. I worked on the housing in Galveston after Hurricane Ike hit, and we did a mixed income project that's been very successful. Allowed seniors, workforce, and young people to be able to move into the same complex. We need to make that a priority. We need to stay business friendly. If we don't fix our permitting process, where it takes you longer to get a permit than it does to build your project, people aren't going to come. And if people don't come, job opportunities are not here. And we need to continue to have our neighborhoods with our parks and walkability. And the other thing is public transportation, which we're going to be voting on. I'm in favor of really having more of an intricate bus system which moves you through the city from your home to a job than worried about how you get out to Hobby Airport or Bush Airport.
Okay, thank you very much. Bill King, same question to you. What are your plans, or how will you be able to make Houston or continue to be a welcoming and inclusive city?
You know, I grew up down in the northern part of Galveston County, and frankly, it was not a very diverse community. I came to Houston, and one of the very first people I met as a young lawyer here in Houston was Mickey Leland. And Mickey had never met a stranger. He certainly was completely colorblind. And it was really through Mickey that I learned that you not only tolerate cultural and ethnic differences, but you celebrate them. Of course, he was taken from us way too soon. But I learned from his lessons and that heritage and went on and done a number of things. Served on the TSU Board of Regents for a term. It was a great experience. But one of the things I did that really taught it to me more than anything else was I served and I'm still actually a chairman, board member emeritus of Interfaith Ministries. And I was a board chair, and I chaired their campaign to rebuild their program down in Midtown. Interfaith Ministries is the group that brings all the great faith traditions together in Houston. I'm not just talking about Methodists and Baptists. I'm talking about Sikhs and Baha'is and Muslims and Buddhists. Everybody in town comes together. And what that organization, what their motto is the strength of shared beliefs. Because the truth of the matter is, when you get past all these silly things that separate us, what hats you wear, what food you eat, the way you dress, we all care about basically the same things. You know, this great commonality of the human experience of what's the weather today, of making your mortgage payment, of making sure your kids get a good education. And I think the great strength of Houston is we have that relational infrastructure built into our institutions, things like Interfaith Ministries, American Leadership Forum, Leadership Houston. We've built these institutions in Houston that force us to reach across these lines into sometimes that are uncomfortable, and then suddenly we learn that actually it's pretty comfortable after all.
Thank you very much. Naoufal Houjami,
Yes,
tell
thank
us how you would keep Houston inclusive and welcoming.
Okay. I have been all over the world. Rich countries, poor countries. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an author, more than 7 books already published. U.S. National Security Strategist, a member of the Center of Strategic and International Studies in Washington, D.C., inventor, composer, volunteer, politician. I have been involved with both sides, Republican, Democrat, high level as a volunteer advisor. Let's stop the double standards, okay? We have a major problem, and I posted it when I was in the Cinco de Mayo. I want to bring the driver license to all undocumented families with no criminal records, with kids, especially born here in Houston. Must be 5 years live in Houston. You must be paying your taxes. We have more than 750,000 families, their kids born here, and we are talking about something welcoming. We're already welcoming, but we need to fix this problem. New York is doing it. Go Google it. They won it 3 months ago. They passed it. And 12 states, they already passed it. If you are not a criminal, if you are a criminal, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to take you back. But if you are not a criminal, you have kids, you have grandchildren here, you are working hard. Go to 288, go to the freeways and see who's working at 120 degrees. Stop and ask them. Fact, it wasn't the TV. One contractor undocumented, he died on Bill 288 and 288. We saw people working. Let's stop the double standards. As I said in the beginning, building strong families lead to strong communities, lead to strong city, lead to strong state, and that lead to a strong nation. We need to stop the double standards. That's why I want to run for the mayor. I will bring the real change, not talking about something imaginary. We need to fix these people. We need to give them the driver license because New York and others said they are doing it. That's the most important for me right now. I want to do it. I want to help these people. People cutting the grass, people fixing especially after Harvey. Who was fixing your home? Huh? Who was fixing your home? Who was fixing your EC? I want to stop the double standards. Thank you.
All right. Tony Busby, what are your plans to keep Houston a welcoming and inclusive city?
Why don't we stop paying lip service to it? I mean, we say, hey, we celebrate our diversity, but the truth is, look at our advertisements that we send out, and do we ever talk about diversity in our advertisements? We have sports stars on there, but we never say, hey, you can come to Houston, you go to India, you can go to Nigeria, you can go to Mexico, you can go all over the globe right here in the city of Houston, not only at restaurants, but also with the great people we have. We talk about it, but we don't really celebrate it the way we claim to. Secondly, look at the minority-owned and women-owned business enterprise system down at City Hall, or the disadvantaged business system at City Hall. Do you know that the 5 contracts that City Council approved that were supposed to be for residential rebuild of Harvey, that all of the minority and women-owned businesses that were listed in those 5 contracts, and we're talking about 5 $66 million contracts, not one of those subcontractors who were part of that program had ever even been contacted and would not have been used, but for the fact that I raised Cain about it and took the mayor to task about it. And I want you to remember this too. There are about 5 different multi-millionaires that throw fundraisers and parties for the mayor's daughter and for the mayor's reelection campaign that are part of the Disadvantaged Business Program with the City of Houston, and they have gotten millions and millions and millions of dollars of contracts. One particular individual had 22 contracts. This is a guy that is a multi-deca millionaire, and he's, by the mayor's standard, a disadvantaged business. The only reason he's disadvantaged is because he raises $1 million for the mayor. Listen, if you want to fix the streets, if you want to do something about flooding, if you want to help people crushed by Harvey, if you want to pay the firefighters, if you want to put more police on the streets so we can make this city safe, we got to fix corruption at City Hall first, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm not taking campaign donations, and I'm not seeking endorsements, and I'm not even going to take a salary. I'm going to give the salary away to charity, and that's why I want to be your mayor. We can clean up Houston. New energy, new Houston.
All right, thank you. And Derrick Broze, how would you make Houston continue to be a welcoming and inclusive city?
So first off, my campaign, one of the main platforms that we're running on that right off the bat is important to me is celebrating, standing in defense of and support of civil liberties and individual rights for all people across the board, regardless of age, gender, religion, sexual orientation, all these sort of divisions that people fall into, because to me it's Houstonians across the board, right? And as everybody has acknowledged, we understand we have over 100 languages spoken here. We can find any kinds of food we like, but I do think that what a few others have said is true, that we don't truly celebrate diversity, or at least there could be more steps taken to do that other than just paying lip service to it. One of these things I think that's important as far as talking about how diverse the city of Houston is to realize that there are communities, say for example on the east end of Houston over there in Manchester near a lot of the refineries where there's the highest rates of cancer in the country. These communities are left behind, are forgotten, and many other parts of Houston that are dealing with either pollution or environmental disasters, or they're living in what are known as food deserts. These are different communities that are completely affected by the lack of attention to this diversity, other than maybe putting up an advertisement that has somebody with a person of color on it, or we print things in multiple languages or things of this sort. But how many people in the city and the current administration are actually making an effort to engage with those communities? Even, for example, just through the way this election is being run. If we have so many people who speak Vietnamese and speak Urdu and speak Hindi and other languages, that I don't see much of an effort for the city actually engaging and reaching out to those communities. And that's probably one of the reasons we have such a low voter turnout, is because we have this diversity, but it's only being spoken to a certain English-speaking audience. So I think there's a lot of ways that we could step up. And again, I stand in defense and will continue to stand in defense of civil liberties and free speech for all Houstonians, regardless of any other thing that separates us or divides us.
All right, thank you very much. And Dwight Boykins, what steps would you take to make sure that we continue to be a welcoming city?
Well, the city, thank you for the question. The city, for the past 6 years, we've lowered the property tax rate in our city. Our job is to make certain that we continue to offer incentives to corporations to come to Houston, such as a 3-8 agreement, or just incentives to make enterprise zones, whatever the opportunities may be for those businesses, to make certain that they come into the city of Houston. We really, really do have a very diverse city. I'm fortunate enough to say I've had an opportunity to represent the Texas Medical Center. And when you go to the medical center, you see the physicians that come in and tell you that they're from different parts of the country because they love the diversity of our city. I'm a volunteer at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. You go to the rodeo, we have 30,000 plus volunteers volunteering, very diverse background, because they love our city. They love the culture. They love the weather. They love the diversity we have in the city. We have to make certain that we have a mayor and leadership that will embrace that. I tell you, the city has been so good to me. When growing up in a neighborhood where the odds were against you, and now a candidate for mayor today, it's only by the grace of God that, just doing the right things happen. And people look at our city around the world and say, you know what, I can do that as well. So we will continue to keep the property tax rate in check, offer incentives to businesses to under my administration, make certain businesses come here, with the caveat that they give opportunities, second chance opportunities to those who made mistakes and need second chances. And that's how that person now all of a sudden contributes back to the city's economy as well. So I look forward to the opportunity to serve as mayor and to make this a full-time job to make certain I do what it takes to make our city better.
All right, thank you very much. And Dr. Baker, tell us your plans to keep Houston a welcoming and inclusive city for everyone.
Well, first of all, I think that begins with the heart of the person. As a pastor and the son of the pastor, the Bible teaches us, behold how good it is when brethren dwell together in unity. Houston has made national mark as being the most diverse city in the nation. And I believe the character of the mayor, which is a person who don't know any strangers. My dad didn't know any strangers. I was raised that way. I would only continue to build upon that and make sure that we continue to be diverse. I've traveled to different continents, including Africa and different places. Here in Houston, I've eaten with Africans. I've eaten with Indians. I've eaten with Mexicans. I've eaten all kinds of food. That's why I'm so big right now.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that my heart and the character of me as a person will automatically compel to continue our diversity and continue to celebrate one another by advertising each other and impressing upon each other that, listen, we are stronger together than we are apart. And so I believe it's going to be very, very important that not only do we have these separate concerts and separate organizations putting on huge concerts downtown like Africa Day and this and day and that day, but let's have a day where all cultures come together and just celebrate Houston as it is, the most diverse city in America. And by the way, where I reside is in the most diverse district of Houston, which is in that southwest area near Chinatown. And so I will continue to build on that.
All right. Thank you very much. Our next question, you're each going to have 1 minute to answer. One of the issues that is concerning for all Houstonians is, of course, flooding. If you're elected mayor, how will you keep the city prepared for future flooding and other disasters and emergencies? And we'll start with you again, Dr. Baker.
Sure. Well, with the flooding, we all know that's a huge, huge issue. We need to get back to our routine cleaning of our storm sewer lines. When I work for the city, we did it all the time. I see the city has pulled back away from that, making sure the storm sewer lines are clear of clutter, making sure they're clear of furniture. We have furniture that's in line, that's stuck in the lines, that's causing massive flooding. And then we need to have a comprehensive plan in place for whenever there's a storm, be prepared to evacuate, for recover, for restoration, and so forth and so on. Have it in place already and not just react, a knee-jerk reaction when things happen. And so as mayor, I'll use my 29 years of experience to make sure that we have some concrete plans in place so that citizens will not suffer the way that we did these past 2 hurricanes.
All right, thank you. And Dwight Bookins, you've been on this with your district and being on city council. What would you do as mayor to address the flooding and keep Houston safe?
You're absolutely correct. Anytime the National Weather Authority contact the city and inform us that a hurricane or a major storm is coming through, the first thing I do is a robocall to my constituents. And I inform them that if their inlets need cleaning, let's get them straightened out. Let's get them clean and make certain the flooding doesn't back up on the streets. But as mayor, what I plan to do is revisit the Rebuild Houston program and change the weighted average from major thoroughfares to residential streets, where we can have inlets put in place, clean them out on the residential streets, which will prevent backup flooding. That's extremely important because as water flows, and we don't have enough time to go into it, but as the water flows from the major thoroughfares, it goes into the residential streets and it backs up because one street may have one inlet, the other street may have 2. So we have to definitely address that. And as a member who served on the Rebuild Houston Oversight Committee, I can tell you it's a wonderful program. It needs to be looked at, but it's a dedicated source of money, dedicated it's supposed to be used only for street and drainage projects, and I look forward to implement that as mayor.
All right. Derrick Broze, flooding and keeping Houston safe in other disasters and emergencies. What are your plans?
So the flooding obviously is a huge issue here in Houston. With my campaign, the way that we're trying to take on these traditional issues is, again, with a creative approach and an eye to trying to take on multiple problems at once. And in this case, it would be that in addition to the solutions that I think are good that have been mentioned, cleaning out the inlets and the drainage problems that we have, because we have flooding not only from the street level, but we also have flooding from the bayou. So in addition to those more traditional things that I think we can all agree are necessary, we're also putting forward a proposal which is on our website, derrickbroze.com, called Hemp Houston, where now that Texas has legalized industrial hemp for farming and production, which is non-psychoactive cannabis plant that can be used for rope, for all kinds of fiber, as well as energy and fuel, but it grows very quickly and efficiently. And I've worked with the Buffalo Bayou Partnership during this campaign and talked to them about the erosion along the bayou and why that causes flooding. We can't get plants to grow quick enough. Something like hemp can grow extremely fast. We can help Houston create a brand new industry around planting hemp throughout the bayou and throughout the city, which could help with drinking some of the water, bringing that in, and also reduce erosion.
Okay. Tony Busby, what would your plans be to address flooding and help keep the city safe?
Even though we're 2 years post-Harvey, we're still in no better position, prepared for all those storms that we know are offshore right now. It's very frustrating. We can't even do the basic things right, whether it be, there's 1/3 of the city is open ditches. We haven't cleaned those ditches. I stood on the same pile of trash 3 months in a row that had couches and mattresses, and right in the major drainage ditch of that particular area in the 5th Ward. We got to get back to the basics of doing the small things right. And we got to use the drainage fee that we're all paying for drainage projects. We have a real leadership problem in the city of Houston. A lot of people do a lot of talking. They don't do a lot of acting. Look, I've been in a lot of emergency extremist situations, as you may know, as a former Marine captain in places all over the world. And I know how to deal with emergencies, and I know how to put the right people in place to act, not talk. We need action. We've waited long enough. We know what the problem is. It's time to deal comprehensively with drainage. And if you look at TonyBusbyForMayor.com, you'll see my plan, because there's no way you can answer this in 1 minute.
Okay. Naoufal, Houjami, tell us about your plans to address flooding and keep the city safe.
My education is risk management and strategy, and I have been all over the world. We have one big problem. We need to build big levees. Look what happened with Baker, the Barker. Big levees with new technology, high capacity. The drainage, we need to bring people, educate people to communicate. Don't put the trash, my friend. We're going to get flat street. They call it sheet flow. That's the technical term. So we need, Tokyo, what they did when they got tsunami. They built the main drainage center with like sheet to take out the trash. We can do that too here in Houston, you know. But I have a lot to talk about. Please visit my website, www.houjamiformayor.com, and especially the Facebook. You can see all my plan and all what I want talking about. But the most important, we need also, as my colleague said, we need to increase green infrastructure. You know, you just have concrete, of course, where the water gonna go? They're gonna stuck. So we need to increase green infrastructure. Thank you.
Okay. Bill King, same question to you. Flooding and keeping Houston safe.
So in 1961, I was 10 years old, and my family evacuated ahead of Hurricane Carla, came back to see Kemah completely destroyed. And since then, my homes have been flooded twice. So I completely understand how disruptive this experience is for people. We flood in this area for a very simple reason, and that is that we're getting a lot of rain, a lot more rain than we used to get. We undersized our infrastructure, and we haven't maintained it. We recognized this problem back in 2011, and we imposed on ourselves a new tax that we call the drainage fee, and we were promised that that money was going to be used to fix our drainage problem. Half of that money has been taken ever since then and spent on something other than drainage. 2015, Sylvester and I both acknowledged this was going on, and both of us promised that we would stop it. He has continued to divert that money even after Hurricane Harvey, even after we flooded 100,000 houses. We're still not spending all the drainage fee on drainage. I promise you, when I'm mayor, we will spend every penny of that money on drainage.
Thank you very much. Lovell, tell us about your plans to address flooding and keep the city safe.
I don't think we have a flooding problem. We do that pretty well. I think we have a drainage issue. And there's two types of flooding that occurs in drainage. One is when a big storm or hurricane comes in, and that must be a regional approach that we work with the county. And you know, the county just passed millions of dollars of bonds. They're waiting for us, the city, and for this mayor to engage with them to decide what that strategy is. The other is when we have rainstorms, and that has to do with the stormwater. It has to do with going in and making sure our stormwaters are cleaned out, that our streets are done in a way that moves the water to the stormwater outlets. It has to do with putting more green and along the Byers. It's a very good suggestion. This is not a problem about flooding. It's a problem about using our dollars to make sure that we can drain our streets properly and protect our neighborhoods. And we haven't been doing that, and we haven't been using the drainage fee the way it was meant to be spent.
All right, thank you. Demetria Smith, tell us your plans.
Yeah, so time and time again, every election we're talking about flood control. We're talking about drainage. Like, this is an ongoing issue. And the question is, why are we still talking about this? Why is this still a platform? Potholes is a platform every election. Drainage fees is a platform every election. So why? So I would like to make sure that these disasters are not man-made. That's number one. And also just look at detention ponds and retention ponds. Look at location to see if we can widen and deepen it and just open up more detention and retention ponds. So that would be a solution to work with Harris County Flood Control District at this time. So in making sure that money that's allocated for our district to take care of the flood, we just allocate the money properly, not misallocate it for something else.
All right. And finally, Mr. Vasquez.
Yeah, sure. So I
plans.
agree with a lot of what everybody said. Partnering with partnering with nature, protecting our green spaces, fixing our infrastructure. I think one opportunity we have though is to educate, more education for the public on what to do when it floods, because we're not going to be able to stop flooding altogether. We can reduce it, we can minimize it, but we can't stop it. So educating the public consistently, not just when a big storm is coming. We're such a big city and so many people are moving here. If anybody's moved here in the past 2 years, they haven't experienced flooding. So educating the public constantly on what to do, how to stay safe, and on what to do for themselves, I think is a huge opportunity to protect the public from flooding.
All right. Unfortunately, we're starting to run out of time, and so I'm not going to be able to get to the last question, but all of your information, contact information, will be included in our voter's guide when it does come out. And I want to thank each of you for joining us tonight, coming here to the Houston Media Source to answer our questions, but also allowing us the opportunity to learn a little more about each of you, and so that we can all be informed voters. Every year, the League of Women Voters of the Houston area publishes its voter's guide ahead of the election. The guide is where we pose a set of questions to candidates from a number of local elections and ask them for a written response. The voter's guide will be available mid-October, prior to the election, prior to early voting, that is, and it will also be in print as well as on our website, lwvhouston.org, and the League's 411 app, which you can download from the Apple and Android stores. It's available in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, or Chinese this year. We're also putting together a handy-dandy guide to help voters learn about the new voting centers that will be available to Harris County voters on Election Day. Statewide constitutional amendments and local issues and all the candidates for Houston City elections, the Board of Trustees, and the Houston Independent School District, as well as Houston Community College. In just a few days, Houston Media Source will post this program on its YouTube channel, and it will also be available on the League of Women Voters of the Houston area's Facebook page, LWV Houston. For the League of Women Voters of the Houston area, I'm Tim Lankford. Thank you for watching Conversations with the Candidates on Houston Media Source Television.
Recommend some new music.
That's what I was thinking.